Full disclosure, I completely forgot the reading rush was even happening, let alone when it was happening, let alone that it was happening so soon. So I'm really winging this video. So therefore, this is hopefully just going to be a really quick run through of the books that I'm planning on reading for the reading rush. Am I actually going to read these during the reading rush? Who knows? Am I going to vlog during the reading rush? That's the plan. I don't know if it'll actually happen. Per usual, I'm going to be picking books based on the challenges because I think it's fun. It's kind of like a puzzle for me trying to fit books into places. But per usual, although I'm picking books to match the challenges, my biggest priority is just reading books I'm interested in. I'm not going to pick a book I don't want to read just because it fits a challenge. So instead of running through the challenges, I think this time I'm going to run through the books that I plan to read and discuss the challenges within that because some of them fit multiple. And also, like with the last time they did this challenge, I'm not going to be doing the challenge of reading a book completely outside of my house. I didn't even attempt this challenge when everything was open and there was a library to go to, or honestly any number of places I could go to read a book. And I'm definitely not going to do it now when the only place I can go is outside to my deck where it's hot. Enough preamble, let's jump into the TBR with the kind of heavy hitter of the challenges, and that is Colorless, Tsukuru Tazaki and His Years of Pilgrimage by Haruki Murakami. This book is going to be completing 3 of the 7 challenges for me. Firstly, I was fortunate enough, at least for this reading rush, to be born in the month of June, which has 3 birthstones. Firstly, there's Pearl, which I've never liked. I don't like pearls.
So there's something on my face.
Secondly, and the one that I've seen mentioned the least, is Moonstone, which is kind of a like white, purple, blue mix. And third is Alexandrite, which is normally pictured as being like a light purple, but can actually look like any color in any lighting. So instead of trying to pick a book based on just one of those, because I could literally pick any book ever, I decided to go with this one because not only does it kind of have like the moonstone color up here, but these are also kind of the colors associated with Alexandrite, and any of these colors could be associated with Alexandrite. And also, there's a pearl in the middle. Is that actually a pearl? No, probably not, but it fits and it symbolically works, so we're going with it. Although Murakami novels are always really hard to describe, I think this is supposed to be one of the more straightforward ones. If I remember correctly, in this story, our main character returns to his hometown as an adult, and he's kind of trying to make sense of his childhood, but when he gets there, all of the people that he knew as a child are basically ignoring him or like pretending he doesn't exist or something like that. It definitely seems very intriguing and mysterious, and it's also pretty short, and I think the font is pretty big, so this should be a quick read. Editing Kristen here. This book is counting for 3 challenges, and somehow I forgot to mention the 3rd challenge that it's counting for, so I figured I should add this in. It's also counting for the challenge of reading the first book that you touch, because when I was considering using it for the reading rush for the other challenges, I picked it up off my bookshelf to look and see like how big the font was and how many pages it had. And then I realized that it was the first book I'd touched after looking at the list, so I'm using it for that one as well. Somehow in the moment I totally spaced on mentioning that, so now I have, and now back to past Kristen. So that takes care of 3 of the 6 challenges that I'm actually attempting already, so we're making great progress. One of the other challenges is to read a book that starts with the word "the," and they mentioned in the video that this could either be very easy or very difficult, and in my case, it's incredibly easy. I think half of the books on the shelf start with "the." But the one that I'm planning on reading for this one is one that also fulfills the challenge of reading a book from a genre that I want to read more of, and that is The Anatomy of Story by John Truby. As you can see, I've already started this. I'm already in the middle of this, and I'm putting this on this list because I need to finish it. This is a nonfiction writing craft book that I have picked up, I want to say, 3 to 4 separate times just over the past year, meaning to read it and just keep putting it down for literally no reason at all. I'm not currently drafting anything for Camp NaNoWriMo, but I decided to take the month and use it as a time to develop this story idea that I've had in the back of my mind for quite a while now. And although I'm not following this book to a T, I have been using this to kind of help guide me through the process and give me inspiration through the process. And as far as working through the development of my story, I'm still pretty early on in the book, but I've actually read much further than that, and I'd like to go ahead and just finish the book so that when I get to that part in the actual development process of this idea, I am like rereading the section rather than reading it for the first time, if that makes sense. Basically, I want to finally finish reading this book so that when I go to use this material, I'm rereading it and I'm already somewhat familiar with it. And yes, obviously I'm already part of the way through it, so I'm not starting it during the reading rush, but does that really matter? And alternatively, if I'm not in the mood for that or I don't want to read that, my other option for that challenge is The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson. This is a reread for me. I started the reread like at the beginning of June and I read it pretty consistently for several days, and then I set it down and never picked it back up again because I haven't been in a fantasy mood, and I love this book, but I just haven't been in the mood to read it. I'm currently 200 pages in, so that means I have like 400-ish pages left, so I could definitely finish this reread in the reading rush if I'm so inclined. I'm not sure I will be though. So the last challenge that I have yet to address is the challenge of reading a book that inspired a movie I've already seen. My problem for this, which is the one that they mentioned in the video, is that generally with book to movie adaptations, I like to read the book first. That said, I have done it in reverse a few times. The Princess Bride, Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist, The Shining, which I never actually finished, but still. And I did have The Chronicles of Prydain, which is what inspired The Black Cauldron, which is a movie I love, but I unhauled that a couple of years ago at least. So of the books that I own and or am interested in / are on my TBR, I don't know of any that inspired a movie that I've already seen. And as I already mentioned, my priority here is not complete the challenges, it's read books that I want to read. So I'm going to use this challenge as an opportunity to return to the reread zone, which is one of my main goals for the year. The first option for this, because I have two, is to complete my reread of Death Note, because I never finished it during that 30-day manga challenge. I honestly can't remember if the last one I reread was volume 9 or volume 10, but either way, I have either 2 or 3 volumes left in this reread. And of course, I have already seen the anime of this, and although that's not a movie, another thing I failed to mention is that I don't watch a lot of movies in general. I mean, theoretically, I guess that I could watch the horrible Netflix adaptation of this, but I think that I'm just going to allow the anime to count as a movie. Also, they're doing reading vlog challenges this year, and one of the challenges to do in your reading vlog is to match your outfit with your book. This one's going to be really easy because all I wear is black, and this is all black, so it fits perfectly for that as well. And then if for some reason I'm not in the mood to finish my reread of Death Note, I can always turn to And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie, which I've also been meaning to reread this year. There are several movie adaptations of this book, none of which I think I've seen in their entirety, but I did really enjoy the BBC adaptation, which again is a TV show, but I'm gonna count it. I mean, honestly, BBC series are practically just a series of short movies anyway, so I think it counts. A couple of fun facts about this. If you're new here, this is my favorite standalone novel, and also this year is the 10-year anniversary of the first time I ever read this. And also, it was during the summer as well, because I have a distinct memory of my friend loaning me the book during the summer, and I read it and I loved it. I've reread this several times since then, but it has been, I want to say, a few years since my last reread, so we're due, and it's the 10-year anniversary. It makes sense. And if I really want to challenge myself, I could try to read this one, my Korean edition, which I'm still not at the level to read yet, but I could try. It would take me way too long, but I could try. So that is my TBR for the reading rush. Now, I do still need to finish Special Topics in Calamity Physics before the reading rush starts, which I don't think should be that difficult, but I haven't picked it up in a few days, so I need to get back on that. And also, one year I made an entire TBR video. I got all the challenges, and then when I actually got to the week of the reading rush, I completely changed my TBR, read I think none of the things on my TBR, and still had a great time. So we'll see what happens. As always, links to all my social media are down in the description. I'm especially active on Twitter and Goodreads. Please add me as a friend on Goodreads. I'd love to be friends with all of you on there. Like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.